Car prices are dropping, so how is that going to impact you, and when is the right time to buy a car? That's what we're going to find out. Welcome to Car Up Corner, where we help you, the consumer, master the process of car buying and car ownership. Chances are, if you follow the car market, you've probably seen that many different outlets have been reporting that car prices have been dropping over the past several months. So is there really a major car crash, or is this just a lot of sensationalism? Well, as a consumer advocate and a consultant in the auto industry for over a decade, I'm going to tell you exactly what's been going on, how far down car prices are really going, and what you should do if you've recently bought a car, or if you're thinking of buying a car in the near future. When is the best time to buy? And remember, if you enjoy and get value out of this video, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications. I post 2 videos a week, always straight to the point, valuable car buying advice designed to help you, the consumer. And a huge thanks to OMVIC, Ontario's vehicle sales regulator, for sponsoring a portion of this video. So there's no question, car prices are certainly starting to come down, and this is due to a number of different factors, including the improving situation of the car shortage with computer microchips, inflation, interest rates, and the state of the economy as a whole. As many are now aware, the auto industry experienced a very severe shortage of cars over the past few years, which was caused by a global shortage of computer microchips and other supply chain issues which were severely restricting car manufacturing. This led to a lack of inventory at dealerships with extremely long waiting periods on many brand new cars, which later led to overinflated prices due to market adjustment fees, markups, and also very high prices on used cars as a result. And because there were so few cars available on the market, we also saw the disappearance of rebates and incentives, so most consumers were paying full price, if not over the original MSRP. All of this led to a dramatic increase in the price of cars, and also a huge increase on the price of loans, including both financing and lease payments. For example, according to Cox Automotive, lease payments and financing increased by around 30% over the past 2 years alone, reaching around $785 a month for a car loan, or $661 a month for a lease, which is absolutely mind-blowing. And on top of that, interest rates have also gone through the roof. A few years ago, it was normal to get around 1.9, 2.9, even 0% interest financing, which was normally available on a lot of brand new cars. But now that's completely unheard of. Brand new cars now have an interest rate of anywhere from 4.9 to 6.9% on financing, and anywhere from 7.9 to 9.9% on leasing, and the interest rates are even higher for used cars. Most new cars have an interest rate anywhere from 7.9 all the way into double digits, which is absolutely insane. The reality of double-digit interest rate financing on used cars is definitely a very scary thought, and there's no question that's going to lead to severe consequences for a lot of consumers. So how exactly have all these factors been impacting the market? Well, we've certainly been seeing used car sales have been gradually going down over time. Inventory is starting to go up as well, and we've also been seeing the used vehicle listing prices have been gradually trending downward month over month, and this is expected to accelerate throughout the rest of the year. Now, although most of this does apply to the US market to a certain extent, this has also been happening in the Canadian market as well. According to Canadian Black Book, we've been gradually seeing wholesale value on used cars slowly coming down month over month. And although this hasn't exactly led to a dramatic decrease in used car prices, they have certainly plateaued, and eventually we might start to see used car prices slowly coming down. Now, this is all going to be a major problem for those who already purchased a car over the past year, because more than likely you are going to be in very severe negative equity, where the value of the car is way lower than what you actually owe. Now, of course, even in normal times, a certain amount of negative equity is acceptable and normal, because cars are supposed to depreciate by around 20 to 30% over the first couple of years. But because so many people bought cars at such overinflated prices, the amount of negative equity is now way higher than ever before. And that's a very dangerous thing. And speaking of running into problems, if you do encounter a problem with a new or used vehicle that you've recently purchased, OMVIC, Ontario's vehicle sales regulator, is here to help. For example, if you purchase a vehicle from an Ontario registered dealership and later encounter some kind of an issue, there's a problem with your lease agreement, or run into a series of unfortunate events, you might be eligible for compensation under the Motor Vehicle Dealers Compensation Fund. Consumers who are eligible for compensation may be able to receive up to $45,000 per vehicle transaction. To learn more about the compensation fund, whether you're eligible, your consumer protection rights, and how OMVIC can protect you or assist you, make sure to visit the OMVIC website or contact OMVIC. All the information can be found in the description box below. Now, before we get into more of the problems about how the drop in car prices might have impacted you, and when is the best time to be shopping for a car if you are in the market, let's see exactly how far down car prices have gone. Well, according to a recent market report from IC Cars, the average price for a used car in December of 2022 was down by around $1,000 or 3% when compared to a year before. And these price drops vary depending on what models that you're looking at. For example, the hardest hit market according to IC Cars is the Tesla Model 3, which has dropped in value by around 17%. In general, however, we've seen the biggest price drops on certain cars that were just way overinflated over the past few years, including certain electric cars, sports cars, and luxury cars that consumers were just paying way too much money for. And it's not only used car prices that are being impacted, we're finally starting to see some movement with a lot of brand new cars too. For example, according to Cox Automotive, new vehicle inventory is up by around 65% year over year, which is a dramatic increase. And as inventory levels eventually start returning to normal, we're eventually going to see the return of things like rebates and incentives, and even some price drops on certain cars as well. Now, unfortunately, this inventory improvement mostly only applies to the US market, which is doing dramatically better in this area when compared to the Canadian market, which is still struggling with very long waiting periods on a lot of new cars. As a result, we're still not seeing a huge change across the board in the price of new cars, which is still incredibly high. A few car manufacturers, however, have finally started to reduce their prices, with the most notable one being Tesla. In January of 2023, Tesla famously dropped the prices across their entire car lineup, with up to around a $20,000 drop on certain models, which is incredible. Now, no one seems to have the full picture as to why Tesla dropped their prices so much in such a short period of time with basically almost no notice. They claim it's due to the market conditions, improving inflation situation, and also competition pressure in certain markets, primarily China, where Tesla was under enormous pressure from competitors to reduce their prices. Whatever the reasons, this price drop has had a dramatic impact on the market, and it's also led to other manufacturers doing the exact same thing, like for example Ford with the Mach-E electric crossover SUV, which has seen price drops by around $5,000 in the US, or up to around $8,000 in Canada. Now, while it's possible that we might continue to see some further price drops on certain brand new models, the vast majority of new cars are more than likely going to remain very high, with very little price change, and if anything, a continued price increase moving into 2024. We have to keep in mind that even though prices are coming down, they're coming down from astronomically overinflated prices, so relative to just a few years ago, they're still relatively high. And certain high demand models are really not going to move much in price, like for example a lot of the high demand hybrids and plug-in hybrids, which continue to see extremely strong prices. For example, according to IC Cars, hybrid cars are still up by around $3,000 or 9.5% year over year. And if we look at the list of cars with the biggest price increases, we can see that 5 out of the 10 cars are either hybrids or plug-in hybrids, with price increases between 12 to 22% year over year. So what this means is that even though in general we are going to see car prices slowly come down throughout the year, we're still going to see very high prices on a lot of very high demand models, especially when it comes to hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and a lot of compact SUVs that are in very high demand and still have very limited availability, with long wait times at the dealerships. So what does this all mean for you if you're in the market for a car? Well, if you're in the market for a used car, waiting is definitely going to benefit you because the more time you wait, the more prices are likely going to continue to come down. Although with that said, interest rates are incredibly high, so this is really only going to be a major benefit if you're a cash buyer. If you're a financing buyer and need to take out a car loan, you are going to be faced with extremely high interest rates, which means that your total cost of borrowing is still going to be incredibly high, which means it's not a great time to be buying a used car if you need to take out a loan. The only way I could really support anyone who wants to buy a used car with a loan right now is if they're able to pay off the loan as fast as possible, say in around 2 to 3 years, in order to minimize the amount of money that you spend on interest and also minimize your risk of being in negative equity. Now, if you're a new car buyer, again, you can only benefit from waiting, which means the best time to buy, just like a used car, is the second half of 2023, when we're going to continue to see inventory levels improve and dealerships are going to slowly start easing back on charging markups, market adjustment fees, and forcing you to pay for expensive add-ons, which in the past were adding thousands of dollars to the price of new cars. Now, to be clear, with the market conditions changing in 2023, absolutely nobody should be paying any kind of a market adjustment fee or a markup of any kind on a brand new car. If you see a dealership attempting to do that and holding on to the past, just walk away and shop somewhere else. But keep in mind, even though the inventory situation is improving and the waiting periods on a lot of new cars are slowly starting to come down, this is still going to be a major problem on a lot of high demand models, especially when it comes to hybrids, plug-in hybrids, certain electric cars, and also affordable compact cars and small SUVs. A lot of these models are still going to continue to see major supply issues with long waiting periods and virtually no price change throughout 2023, so it really doesn't matter when you plan to buy one of these types of cars. But one thing's for sure, if you've already purchased a car in the past year, and now the value of that car is way lower than what you paid for it, in other words, you're in negative equity, the last thing that you want to do is to trade that car in for another car, or even thinking about buying a car in the near future, because you're just going to sink yourself into even further debt. If you own a car with negative equity, the best thing to do is just to hold on to it, pay it down as fast as possible to get to the point where the value matches what you owe, and only at that point should you even think about buying a new car. Remember, you can really only benefit by waiting and holding on to your car as long as possible. I imagine the market is only going to improve as time goes on, so hold on tight and let's see what happens down the road. So let me know what you thought of this video, and if you have any suggestions for any future car videos, just leave a comment below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. You can also take a look at my other car videos by clicking these links over here. Make sure to follow me on TikTok and Instagram. And if you need any additional car buying advice, recommendations, or help with getting a great deal on your next new car purchase, make sure to check out carhelpcan.com. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.